Hello, and welcome to the I've Seen Everything Reaction Wrap-Up podcast. Here is where I share my thoughts, reactions, and review for my latest reaction videos. To find these full reaction videos, please search for @SeenEverything over on YouTube, or check the description of this podcast for more information. Also, please remember to rate and comment on this episode, and follow the podcast so you can see when I'm putting out new wrap-ups. And now, on to my latest wrap-up for 2025's Superman. Well, I don't know if I was able to do the post-credit scene or not. You already know, because if I did, you've seen it already. So it was just a funny moment with Mr. Terrific and Superman kind of Mr. Terrific getting offended that the buildings coming back together and stuff wasn't perfect. And it's like, obviously they still have stuff to fix. But hey, he saved the universe from a multi-dimensional rift opening up, which again opens up, for lack of a better term, all kinds of possibilities for stuff to have slipped through from other universes, multiverse type stuff. So, and obviously the technology is out there, it exists. So who knows if we could end up in some kind of multiversal thing long before they did in the MCU, in the DCU. I do actually appreciate that kind of their big spoiler, their cameo, their big secret they probably kept showing Supergirl at the end, which I suspected it had to be something with that, because I saw the stuff about Supergirl around. They kind of announced that project, I think right after this came out. I don't know if they did it before, because they probably didn't want to give away the surprise. But I didn't know for sure that she showed up at the end, but I wasn't surprised to see her. But that was cool to see her. I mean, obviously they showed a pretty different characterization with her already. She's a lot more brash and not as much of a goody two-shoes as Clark, for sure. I don't know in this universe how they'll have her origin, where she... I guess I don't know enough about Supergirl's origin anyway, because if there's one definitive one, because I know, at least when I was reading, they were using a different version of Supergirl during the death of Superman. I mean, I read long after that, but I think one that Lex had something to do with. I can't remember. It's been a long time. But it'll be interesting to see how they build that character. And they probably will have to introduce her a little bit more. I mean, for people who watch the Supergirl TV show, they probably know, depending upon if they'll build off the same kind of thing. But overall, more people may not know her origin story. I don't really have a lot of notes there. I really don't. I am very happy. I'm very excited. This is not to take anything away from Christopher Reeve. I don't think you can. I mean, he was the first person to play Superman in a major motion picture. Not the first person to play him in live action on a movie screen. That was Kirk Alyn, who had a cameo in that Superman movie in 1978. But this is the closest I've seen on screen to the Superman I've been waiting for, and the Lex Luthor I've been waiting for. Now, the rest of the universe, again, I'm not as knowledgeable of Hawkgirl or Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific. I'd be interested to hear what people who know more about it than me have to say as far as how you feel about the representations of them in this movie. But I think we're headed in a good direction. The only thing I wish I could have seen, it's not even a note, the only thing I wish I could have seen, I didn't necessarily want to go all the way back to an origin, but to see a little bit more of the early emergence of Superman, because I would have liked to have seen Lex kind of start to lose his mind. And I really feel like that's the Lex they're giving us here, which I think is great. The most compelling version of Lex Luthor that I've been waiting for, and I've only ever seen in the comics, and I didn't even watch Superman the Animated Series that much, but Clancy Brown playing Lex Luthor in Superman the Animated Series. Nothing against Gene Hackman. He's an incredible actor, and again, it's a performance that can't be touched. But I was never really into the con man Lex Luthor. This Lex Luthor, the Lex Luthor that is before Superman shows up on the scene, is the most powerful person in the world. There is nothing he can't do or own and control. Nothing is beyond his reach. And even to the point that he would have been a little better as far as having a good public image, being charismatic, seeming like the benevolent billionaire who does the right things for the right reasons, seemingly to the public, where under the surface, this person that we saw, this out of his mind, ruthless, will do anything to achieve his goals, kill whoever, do whatever harm to the world, whatever. That's who he is under the surface. But it's under this veneer of this wonderful, again, benevolent billionaire. And Superman shows up and cracks that, because Superman takes away from him just by his existence, just by his presence there. his ability to ever be the only thing he's ever associated his identity with. He can never be that again, just by Superman being there. Superman is and has a power that Lex can never have, can never truly duplicate, and he can't control him, and he truly is the good person that that version of Lex would have been pretending to be, revealing the lie of who Lex Luthor is. So that speech he gave, and I'm so glad they did that, that speech was 100% honest from Lex, except that he doesn't care about the rest of humanity. You take that and you take out him talking about the rest of humanity, and he's just talking about him. And then it's completely honest. It is right down the barrel of what his real problem is and how he feels about Superman and why he wants to kill him and why he just cannot allow his existence. It's not possible in his mind. And Superman, I mean, you saw me. Superman right there, that speech, I think it's more self-aware than I've seen Superman before about what his real power is, but they said it, and it's right. It's exactly who he is. He may not be physically human, but he was raised by two wonderful people who taught him to care, who taught him why it was important. He might have become a monster if it wasn't for the Kents, or someone like the Kents. But it was their influence and then his choices as a decent person who cares about the world that made him who he was. I kind of, in one way, wanted to find out that Lex doctored the footage because I didn't want Jor-El and Lara to be monsters. But, I mean, it almost works out better in that Superman, or Clark, realizes that who he is up to him. It's based on his decisions. It's his responsibility. It's not him just following the echoes of his parents who died long ago, which is not a healthy way to live anyway. So I don't really have any notes. A couple little things I listed there, but I don't really have any notes about how I think this should be different. I am very happy and very impressed, and I think they're headed off in a much better direction here. And I'm excited for the future. I still feel like they should have Robert Pattinson's Batman be their Batman for this universe. I feel like it's going to get confusing, and I also feel like striking the right tone with Batman and any of these characters is just as important as striking the right tone with Superman. I feel like, and I was surprised by it, but the Robert Pattinson Batman, I feel like it struck the right tone. So I hope they'll reconsider that, or maybe it's just a secret they're trying to keep. But after this, even if they decide to go a different direction and have a different Batman, I had my doubts going into this about what they'd be able to do. I have my doubts going into a different Batman, what they'll do. But this gives me a bit more confidence that they have people at the helm who know what they're doing. And I'm encouraged by that. Because, as I said, my love of I started reading comics in the 90s, or in the early 90s, but I was a fan of superheroes before that. And I always gravitated more toward the DC heroes. I have been waiting a very long time to see them bring these heroes to the screen in the way that I had always envisioned. And this is pretty darn close. So I hope that we continue in that vein. And I'm anxious to see what they're going to do next, aside from even the projects they've already announced. I'm anxious to see how they're going to build out the universe. So I have nothing else to say except to probably circle back around to repeat some of the stuff I've already said. Thank you for watching through all of this with me. And I think that's it. I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Thanks so much for listening to the I've Seen Everything reaction wrap-up. Again, to find these full reaction videos, please search for @SeenEverything over on YouTube or check the description of this podcast for more information. Also, please remember to rate and comment on this episode and follow the podcast so you can see when I'm putting out new wrap-ups. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll meet you here for the next episode.